Have you ever wondered what is stopping you from taking that step that you want to? What is stopping you from making that investment that you need to? What is stopping you from opening that savings account and start to save routinely? What is it that is keeping you from realizing that aspiration and that dream that you have? Well, we're going to have a look today at what could be the key factor in you not realizing and manifesting those things that you have such a great desire and aspiration to do. So pull up a chair and let's have a chat. Welcome back to Ira Living. Today we're going to have a focus on what it is that could be holding you back. Did you know that your fear could be actually the real key thing that is holding you back? Your fear could be holding you back from achieving so many things that you are aspiring to do. Now, fear is a powerful emotion that we experience. And for some people, it's paralyzing to the point where it keeps them from making the simplest of moves and the cleverest of actions that they need to take. Now, fear in and of itself is not a completely horrible thing, because fear is what stops us from doing some of the things that would definitely put us at extreme risk. That same fear, however, can stop us from taking certain risk that's actually going to be beneficial to us. And it's important that we start to learn how to weigh up our risk aversion and seeing the impact that we can have in transforming the way we think and how we allow fear to manage our existence. You know, there is a famous writing that says that we have not been given a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and of a sound mind. And therefore, it has occurred to me that fear is not something that should be limiting me from aspiring to the things that I want to aspire to. Of course, it's okay to be concerned about things and to be able to make sure that you work through the processes of things so that we're not being careless. It's not the same not allowing your fear to restrict you as acting in a way that is careless. So now what we want to look at is the different aspects in our lives where fear might be the actual thing that is keeping us from making the progress that we want to make. So the first element of fear that keeps us from doing the things that we actually aspire to do is fear of the unknown. So for example, you want to get up and sell your house and move to a different part of the country, but you're fearful as to what might happen when you get there. It's unknown to you. It's not territories that you've explored before, and therefore fear keeps you from wanting to do that. It might also be that you're not accustomed to the idea of investing in the stock market. And so as a result, you choose that you are not going to do it because it's an unknown. But in essence, what we need to do to make that shift is to learn about those things that concerns us or that are limiting us from making that change or making that transition or activating that decision that we need to activate, so that we are at a better position to make a more informed decision. That way, the unknown doesn't limit us, but because we are learning about the things that we need to know in order to make the decision that is going to be right and best for us. The next aspect of fear that people allow to control the way in which they perform is fear of failing. Now, there are so many examples of people who have either approached people for investment or make attempts to find a solution to something and failed so many times over, and they pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and get back on the wagon of trying to find that solution. Now, the problem here is we've got to recognize that none of us are experts in anything until we start to learn about it. When we were babies, we got up, we tried to stand. We fall, we got up, we tried to stand. And through that repetition, we exercised the muscles that we needed to stand upright and then start to take the risk to step, and before we were able to get to the place where we can walk and now run. So it's important that we recognize that failure is part of the process in whatever we're going to be doing. And what we need to do is, instead of seeing it as failure and disappointing, What we need to see it as is our learning journey, a learning process that we need to go through. Take the lessons that we've learned and apply them meticulously. To help to reduce our failures, we can also learn from other people's mistakes. So talk to people who have gone down that path before. Hear the lessons that they have learned from their experiences and see how you can implement those to help to reduce your risk of failing. The next area where fear shows up, and to some extent people think laziness too, but it's procrastinating. Now, procrastinating is another example of fear. So people put off, and it's a combination of the two fears we've mentioned before. People procrastinate because they put off the idea that the unknown to venture in. They don't know how that's going to turn out, so they put off having to do it. Or they fear that they're going to fail, so because of failing, they keep putting it off. Other people procrastinate because they don't put the same level of importance or value on the thing that they are going to be doing. So for example, you need to sort out your paperwork so that you can have your accounts in order. Some people put off and procrastinate on it because of the tediousness of having to sort out the paperwork. But when you put the priority on the end result, which is to sort out your accounts so that you can make sure that you are in the right financial frame and you have dealt with all the things to avoid unnecessary costs later on, you then realize that you now reduce your level of procrastination and start to make it a priority to get it done. So dealing with procrastination, those are some of the things that needs to be done. Make it a priority. Show what the importance is of getting that job done. The other way in which we allow our fear to keep us back is in seeking perfection. So some people want to ensure that everything they've done is so polished and looks so excellent. And oftentimes they're not even doing it for their own self. They're doing it because of the fact that they are such people pleasers. They want to ensure that what they've done gets them praise, and all these other people around them see how polished and well put together whatever they do can be, rather than just simply looking at the value that it's going to bring and getting it started in the first place. Because we know that no matter how we refine things, perfection is an illusion. We never get to it. But what we do is when we do something, we do it to our absolute best. Now, like I tell my daughter all the time, your best is what's good enough. So if you've done something and you haven't done it to your very best, that you know when you assess yourself that you could do it at, then it hasn't been done as well as it could, no matter how successful it was. When you do things and you do it to your absolute best, then for you at that moment in time, that's your perfection. So what you do, if you're somebody who likes to seek out perfection, what you need to do is to assess to see what would be your absolute best in that situation. And whatever that is, that's your perfection. The other thing that we do that keeps us from going forwards because of fear is a fear to learn new things and actually embrace change. Now, change is inevitable. However, people have become so systematic and routinely conditioned in the way in which they do things that they sometimes struggle with looking at changing. And change in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's about what you're changing to become. Is what you're changing to become a better version of you? Is it going to better serve you? Is it going to be more productive? Those are the things that we need to be looking at. And if that is the case, then we need to take up the mantle of change. We need to learn and change. You know, when we go to Rome, do as the Romans do. If you see somebody in a group doing something and that's profitable and productive, and by no means is it immoral to your standard and the standards you guide your life principles by, then by all means, look at how you can adapt that and utilize it in your own life. That's part of learning. And gradual adjustments and adaptations help us to effect the overall change that we need. And think about it as maintenance. You're maintaining your own growth and your own development over time. And all of these skills put together help to catapult us much further along the line of our aspirations. Whether our aspirations is to be successful, whether it's to be financially stable, financially independent, financially free, financially emancipated, or to accumulate a certain level of wealth that we can leave a generational legacy, not just for our children, but for our children's children, then by all means, we need to look at how we can eradicate the fears that we're feeling and start to act with power, love, and a sound mind in all the decisions that we are making. Remember, financial literacy is revolutionary. It has transformed my life, and I believe that it can do the same to yours.